Come on, TV, give me some of that sweet, sweet pep.
Who you gonna call?
He's the greatest. He's fantastic.
Honey, I'm home.
Yes!
Look up there.
That's not possible.
I've seen that guy somewhere. On TV.
Hello Marvel Legends and welcome to a new feature on the channel called Things That I'm Excited About. We might workshop that name to come up with something a little bit more catchy, but for now it just does what it says on the tin. Things that I'm currently excited about in the world of comic books, media, action figures, video games, you name it. What is entertaining me at this particular point in time? Probably becoming like a monthly feature maybe. What's exciting me for January? So here we go. First and foremost, what encouraged me to make this list in the first place is New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Venn diagram of action figures and pro wrestling, there's a lot of crossover there. And New Japan, along with All Elite Wrestling, has been keeping me going for the last 12 months because it's this wonderful just injection of love and passion that I have for something that is still happening in the world. Because a lot of stuff isn't happening. We can't enjoy the things that we used to, but my goodness, there's one shining example that is just still giving all the joy that I used to get and still do now, and that is New Japan and All Elite Wrestling. Because it is different, of course. In Japan, they do have crowds. They have smaller crowds, but they're not allowed to cheer, so we have what we call the clap crowds. And in AEW, they have much smaller crowds, but they still have an atmosphere. They have people in pockets and bubbles, and they have the wrestlers around the ringside, and it gives that atmosphere, which is so great. And in particular, today, we had the second day of Wrestle Kingdom, New Japan Pro Wrestling's WrestleMania. Every January 4th at the Tokyo Dome, all the best of New Japan come out, and it is just a spectacle of human ability and what people can do, and the punishment they can dish out and take, and the athleticism and the love and the heart and the passion. And oh, I love pro wrestling, and I love Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom is my biggest pro wrestling day on the calendar for now. You know, AEW is rapidly becoming my favorite promotion. With what they've taken from New Japan with the Elite and Kenny and the Bucks and all the new talent that they've fostered and cultivated, and their reverence for the older, more nostalgic parts of pro wrestling, and then also just in AEW, the way that you can see they run their company like a collective, like a family. And what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, especially with the emotional things that have been happening, really makes watching AEW a joy, because you're watching it because you want to support this company and these people who are in it, because you know they're all working together. And my goodness, it genuinely is a good time to be a wrestling fan.
Those are a few of our favorite babies.
As for video games, I've been getting back into my video gaming a bit because I will be on and off and off and on. And right now, it's Nintendo Switch and Hades that is just kind of ruling my life right now. If I'm not studying or doing these videos, then I'm probably lying on my bed like this, playing Hades, and I'm not even mad. It's such a beautiful game that has been made without any kind of AAA crunch. So there's been no human rights violations while making this stunning, roguelike dungeon crawling. I get my terms confused with video games, but basically if you haven't seen Hades, it's set in the classic Greek underworld, and it's your job to escape from it, and it's just wonderful because you, in a way, just, you know, it has what they call permadeath, kind of, but not kind of, because when you die, you're done, you go back to the start, but things are remembered and retained, and that actually affects the way that you talk and interact with characters and the way that stories and things unfold. Plus, the combat system is so fast, so intuitive, it's so satisfying, and just as I said, it is a beautiful game. Just mwah. The artwork is stunning. So if you're a sucker for like beautiful animation, it's kind of anime, kind of Disney, sort of mashed together with just some beautiful kind of contemporary stuff. Again, I'm not an animation expert, but I know what I like, and I like Hades. So my goodness, double thumbs up to that little button masher. It's not even a button masher, actually. That's the wrong term, because there's a lot of precision and skill involved in there. That's probably why I'm not great at it, but my goodness, it's so much fun. And going back now, I love my old school gaming. So I recently got out my SNES Mini that may or may not have had some extra games put on it by nefarious means. So I have been playing two Mega Drive classics. I've been playing RoboCop vs. Terminator and Earthworm Jim, and oh my god, RoboCop vs. Terminator, you know, came out in the height of my like teenage kid. I love RoboCop and I love Terminator, and these two games mashed together had no right to be as good as it was. This game could so easily have just been, you know, we'll take this franchise, it's gonna sell because of what's on the box, and we'll just throw it out into the market. But no, these creators went ham with this video game. The graphics are stunningly beautiful. I get it, even though it's more 2D without any sort of up and down scrolling, it reminds me of Streets of Rage in sort of like the nighttime cityscape details, plus the funkiest kind of like music beat driving to it. And then of course, just the animations, because they don't hold back. This is like a mid-90s Mega Drive game, but boy, they let loose on the gore. When RoboCop shoots people, it's almost like too bloody. It's like, what did he just shoot that person with? They just exploded. It's fantastic. And then you throw in like cameo appearances from Ed 209, the Cobra Assault Cannon, RoboCop 2, and then all of the Terminator models, and it's just such a love letter to RoboCop and Terminator. And that encouraged me to reread the Frank Miller RoboCop vs. Terminator comics, which are bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, but that's okay. Because I realized once it got silly, I was like, oh, this is supposed to be stupid. It's not like, oh, this is stupid. It's like, oh no, this is embracing the stupidity, and that's actually really fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it takes itself just seriously enough to be an absolute blast. So, RoboCop vs. Terminator on the SNES, on the Mega Drive or the Genesis if you're in the US, and the Frank Miller comics are such a good nostalgic time. And as I said, also playing Earthworm Jim. And that just opens up a whole other, dare I say, can of worms, because then you've got the Earthworm Jim TV show with the amazing theme tune as well that you can go back and enjoy. But really the game itself, like RoboCop vs. Terminator, but more so, the attention to detail with the animation is beautiful. This came out later, not at the very end, but later in the Mega Drive's sort of life cycle. Actually, I would say sort of at the peak, really, when it was firing on all cylinders and creators knew how to optimize it. And the music and the funky style and the humor are so great, all combined together. Earthworm Jim, 2 thumbs up. Go play some retro games. Speaking of comics, as I was earlier on, current Marvel are sort of hit and miss, but what I'm reading at the moment and I really love is King in Black. I did a review of the first issue a couple of weeks ago, and it still has me hooked. We're 2 issues in now with a few spin-offs as well, and just this story is what's been building and building and building, and now we get a big payoff. Kind of, it's to me the counterpoint of Sin's Past. No, not Sin's Past. The Last Remains in Spider-Man, a story that's been built up for so long with a bad guy who's been built up for so long, and I just feel it's going out like a damp squib. Whereas this story has been built up, and oh my goodness, like this is if Roland Emmerich and like Michael Bay did the visuals, did like the explosions and the scale of a film, but then it was actually written and directed by a competent writer and director. That's what you get with King in Black. It's massive in scope, huge jaw-dropping moments, but then nicely written characters as well. And also makes me think, my goodness, we need a Null action figure, and we need a Sleeper action figure. If you haven't seen, is it Sleeper he's called? Either way, it's a symbiote cat. It's a symbiote that's latched onto a cat, and oh, it's adorable. I want plushies of that. Oh, he looks just the cutest. I want my symbiote cat figure. So King in Black, go read it.
Those are a few of our favorite babies.
Going over to Netflix now. First of all, The Office is back on Netflix. Oh, and what perfect timing. So while we're all kind of stuck at home, not being able to do anything, at least in the UK, go and binge The Office on Netflix. But before you do that, of course, go and watch Transformers Earthrise. No, Transformers War for Cybertron Earthrise, the second part of the Transformers trilogy that Netflix have been doing. And Netflix have just knocked it out of the park with that one. Absolutely amazing. Kind of like they took what Machinima tried to do, but I think a lot of people feel like they didn't quite stick the landing, Machinima. They went for like a more sort of adult kind of take on Transformers with a very sort of nostalgic fan kind of bent to it, but the story's just wasn't that interesting, unfortunately, I feel. But the actual Netflix Transformers, they've done such a good job of taking all the classic characters and also like some of the deep cut characters as well, like ones that only sort of like real hardcore Transformers fans have. Well, actually, I'm not that hardcore, but I do love Transformers. But the real hardcore fans will see like, oh my god, it's this guy or it's that guy, but it's not done in one of those awful Star Wars sequel kind of ways where it's like, hey everyone, remember this? You know, it's like, hey, remember Shockwave? Ooh, I remember Shockwave. No, it's just beautifully done. Like, go watch it. I think it's the best representation, I think, of Transformers we've had in a long, long time, that's for sure. So go check that out.
Those are a few of our favorite babies.
Speaking of classic 80s animated properties that have been updated and whatnot, I've gone back and watched Turtles Forever. Oh, this is such a great nostalgia trip. I'm sure if you're watching this, then you are probably very familiar with Turtles Forever. But if you're not, then I highly recommend go watch it. Or if you haven't watched it for a long time, go watch it again. It holds up so well. It is an animated Turtles movie where they bring in, it's a love letter to Turtles. It's essentially a crossover between the mid-2000s kind of grittier kids Turtles and the goofy 1980s kids Turtles. They have like a crossover. It's very Spider-Verse-y, actually. It was Spider-Verse before Spider-Verse. All the universes break down, so we get the gritty Turtles with the goofy 80s Turtles, and then towards the end, it just goes Cocoa Bananas, and that's so much fun. So I don't want to give away like sort of how things appear and how they cross over, but for a Turtles fan, for a long time Turtles fan, that is such a good time.
Those are a few of our favorite babies.
And since this is first and foremost an action figure channel and will always remain an action figure channel, I want to tell you about what action figures I'm getting excited about at the moment. First of all, I got my Black Knight recently and Punisher Rider with Juggernaut. They form a team that was in the War of the Realms. There we go. So there's a comic book story in War of the Realms where Black Knight, Punisher, and the Juggernaut team up. I've got Juggernaut here, but I took him off the shelf because he was so dark. He was making all of this dark. So there you go. I had to brighten him up. I was like, I need a bright character. I'll put Thing there. But yes, I love kind of recreating teams and storylines and just like images from comics. So having those three guys together, looks brilliant. Not the Thing, the Juggernaut. Thing is just great because he's bright and colourful. I love this Thing. But speaking of figures that I'm getting excited about that are coming out soon, I really want to get my hands on some of the McFarlane Mortal Kombat figures. Because like McFarlane got me into toy collecting back in the day, and like they're doing the DC ones, but I I'm just not a big DC fan. I kind of toyed with the idea of getting like the Dark Knight's metal Batmen because they do look really cool, but then I thought, actually, you know what I do love and I am a big fan of? Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat! It's the only way you can say it. So I have actually ordered the Mortal Kombat Spawn figure, who was on so many top 10 figure lists last year. I was like, I really need to get that. And I got a Scorpion to go with him, and I've pre-ordered the Shao Kahn, which looks badass. So there you go, guys. I'm going to do reviews of those when they arrive. And I think for now, that kind of covers it. We've done Transformers, cartoons, comic books, video games. There's a lot of stuff to get excited about, and most importantly, pro wrestling as well, guys. If there's any pro wrestling fans, let me know, because Wrestle Kingdom was 2 nights worth of a hell of a show. So I'm going to go and just digest what I just saw. No spoilers, but I'm going to stop talking in case I give too much away. I'm sure people are watching going like, nah, actually, we don't watch wrestling. It's fine, Dave. This is all just for you. Guys, the main thing I'm excited about, though, is doing more of these shows in the next year. So if you enjoyed this little reasons to be excited, let me know, or tell me what things, what media are getting you most excited, and I will read them and probably feature them on the next episode. So until next time, guys, enjoy the Data Blast that is coming up now. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to do more for my Patreon this year as well, because it looks like I probably won't be moving to Beijing. So that massively well-paid job is out the window. So I'm going to try and finance myself however I can. Someone went, well, you could always sell your figures. I was like, get out. So yeah, I'm going to do more on the Patreon. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just do extended episodes. So basically, every episode that I do, I will finish, and then we'll have what we'll call the dark match, which is a little wrestling term. So there'll be like an extra kind of like 5 or 10 minutes where I'm talking about this, that, or the other, and it's just added content for anyone who would like to watch it on Patreon. But don't worry, because you're not missing out on any of the main shows that are all here on the free feed. And quite frankly, just by watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that kind of stuff, you're giving me so much support because I love doing these shows. Right, what was I saying before I got distracted? Yes, the Data Blast. Some of the best things that I found on Instagram. Check out the names of the creators and go give them a follow, because my goodness, we have some incredibly talented people here in this community. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
There's a whole lot more coming.
The biggest unanswered question is, where is the
There's a
money?
whole lot more coming.
The biggest unanswered question is, where is the
There's a
money?
whole lot more coming.
Where is the money? The biggest unanswered question is, where is the
There's a
money?
whole lot more coming.
The biggest unanswered question is, where is the money? Where is the money?